everybody. It is time for Minute to Skim It. There was literally a book this week that I yelled out loud at the last page. Yelled out loud in the Black Bear Diner. Weirdly, I read my comic books there every Tuesday, and I don't think anyone really reacted because I might do that some. Find out which one of the books this week made me exclaim loudly at the Blackbird Diner right after this. Welcome in, y'all. I'm super happy to see you. I hope your week was spectacular. It's been cold/rainy here, which is kind of abnormal for us. Hey, Warlord. And I had to wear 2 layers today. Don't feel too bad for me. It's not actually that cold. Just Houston, Texas people are not prepared for that kind of weather. So we're just making do. And there is some really great books, both Marvel and DC. Marvel, there was a ton of number ones this week. So many number ones. This week is really cool DCKO stuff. There's an Alice book that makes its reappearance. There's really something for everybody's day. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about it. I hope you guys have your list prepared. Always remember, use the show the way I intend it. Listen to what I have to say about books, which will be very non-spoilery. And then you can call your local comic shop and be like, hey, I need this, that, and the other added because now that I think about it and I've heard a little bit, maybe I want to have it. So Barlord is going to get single digits by week's end. That's crazy. I have friends that are actually in Alaska that have had record snowpack. Before the last week's snow, they had like 30 inches of pack before more snow. So very unusual for them to have that much snow. They're used to cold. That's not a big deal for them. So wherever you are, just stay safe. That's all I can hope for. Flip-flopping weather caught up with you. Yeah, I got a scratchy throat. I'm not real happy about that. I got a convention this weekend, and as I like to say, ain't no one got time for that. All right, so let's get do this. I'm going to be drinking more water than usual. I apologize. All right, so this is not a number one, but it is Jed McKay's Avengers, which is awesome. And the reason I picked it up is because it's a Legacy number 800, and I knew that the cover was special for a reason. It actually does say there on the cover that it is a new anniversary story by Marvel Legends, Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley, who I love. And I will fully tell you that I just only kind of like barely skimmed the actual story that's in this book, which is very Kang related. It was great, but I went straight to the Bendis and Bagley story at the back. So that's the part I'm going to review for you guys. If there's no other reason to buy this book, that story alone is worth the price of admission on this awesome thing. So, you know that feeling that you used to get back in the day when you reminisced about the original Avengers team and what it meant for them to have each other's backs, all of the adventures they went on. Just think old school storytelling. And that is kind of like the warm fuzzies you're going to get for this backup story. So, okay, so here's the story. Realize I'm way out of center. Here we go. The cool thing is it really is like, it opens the story with, you have Captain America already kind of like in place, and you have Tony show up as Iron Man, basically saying, Cap, I don't know. Why did you contact me this way? I got a message on the super old school Avengers Alert. You remember their little tiny like pager thing? It's like super manual. And it was like, I knew I needed to get here because it had all, what did he say? Thumbs up? It was all thumbs up or something. There was some kind of like code that meant something for them. But what's so beautiful about this story is you realize as one after the other, the original kind of Avengers group shows up, that it is exactly as it's advertised. It is celebrating an anniversary. So in this case, it's the anniversary of the first gathering of the Avengers. And it is lovely. There is an actual story that's going on that involves Madame Hydra and a super something adaptoid. There's another word in there. Super, what could be the other word? Super, not awesome. We'll call it mega, super mega adaptoid. Which, I don't know if you guys know what adaptoids do. Basically, they're cool, I would call them robots, that if a superhero like touches them, then the adaptoid basically gets to use whatever power that's touched them. So you don't want to do that. So it's really hard to fight them. Does that make sense? So there is that story, but really it's just a love letter to all those original characters and how, what they've been through together. And you end up with like understanding very clearly what this cover is about, which is a big, I think it's a wraparound cover with a ton of the superheroes in it. I think there's another variant that's got even more. So here you go, it wraps around like this. So it'd be really nice to frame up. So I don't know. Think about it. If you like Avengers at all in any era, you probably love it. Yeah, of course. So SF is over in the chat asking about claims for my show. And I will just say I do all of my invoicing on Wednesdays. So you can claim bunches of times. Wednesdays when I do my invoicing. So don't worry. You only have to worry if you don't hear from me on Wednesday. Okay. So that's the Avengers for you. Start with the cool keys storyline about Kang and stay for the awesome backup story, which is like more than half the book. So Monster and Wolf. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I feel like the inside of this book is on purpose, but also I'll tell you I'm so used to Mark Spears like full on color explosion that like makes your eyes bleed because there's so many cool colors coming at you, which is why I like his art. And this one is interesting because all the color is pulled out. So it is all grayscale. It is telling a storyline that goes back into a time period that it would make sense for things to be black and white from a perspective of a viewer. So that's not a problem. Just for a little while, my brain was like, wait a minute, did they forget to put the color in here? But no, it's a really cool story. This is kind of an origin story for what becomes the Frankenstein monster, who is so key to all of the, both just the Mark Spears monsters and Monster and the Wolf. It's an important story to understand why he was made, when he was made in the time period, who talked the doctor into making him, and probably why he's super pissed. So really great. I know that there's a lot of people that are collecting every single cover of all of these things as they come out. So there are a great many cool covers, but not as many as there had been before. So there you go. There's a bunch of needies, including that's a metal cover right there. And they've done another like trading card cover has Drac on it. And then these two down here are Mark Spears exclusives. So if don't go to your local comic shop and say, where's my Mark Spears covers? They don't you have to go to Mark Spears site to get that. I think you have to get them off Keenspot. It's a great, great origin story. I am 100% all a Drac girl. I love the character, this specific Drac that's in this series, and the other one. If you have not ever cracked open any of your Mark Spears books, the story is exceptional. You should read it. I understand the whole collecting all the art stuff, but please, please, please give the story Inside a chance, and give him some feedback about it, because I'm sure he hears all the time, your art is awesome. But also, story. Alice Forever After. I'm going to tell you the truth. I did not read the first series. Not because I didn't want to, just ran out of time in my everyday life to read everything that there is. But this is an awesome Boom Studios book. The first one was called Alice something. I don't remember the subtitle. But this one's Forever After. So this one picks back up in the storyline when Alice has a young daughter. It's clear that it still exists, that there is the Wonderland aspect. And the beings led by the Cheshire Cat on the other side are basically saying that they're worried that if Alice or no one related to her doesn't think about Wonderland or try to come to Wonderland anymore, that they will just cease to exist. So all of those beings are there. There is a white rabbit in play, but in Alice's world, main world, it just looks like a rabbit. And the way that the original series worked out is that the way that they got Alice kind of to like dream or think about Wonderland is that her father-in-law was basically drugging her to get her over there. So in this one, it's so cool. The caterpillar man, he actually has figured out a way to like come over to the real world and try to have some influence that way. So Ever After, then Never After, then this one. Oh, okay. Thank you. So this is the third series. This is really cool. So this is Dan Panosian, right? So it's really awesome how he has different art styles for when he's in Wonderland and when he is in the real world. They completely change art styles, and so it makes it very clear where you are, which I do like, because sometimes I get fooled about where we are, what's real and what's not real. So I guess you can fool someone if you like mess around with that, but I think this is pretty straightforward in that storytelling. So really gorgeous, 100% beautiful, all these beautiful warm tones you see on the front cover, and great beginning of a story. You learn to realize that, that dad or grandpa or whatever he is really not a great guy at all. Oh, so excited. Okay. So we've had this big, long storyline called the Age of Revelation, right? And during that time, we're talking months, they kind of put like a hard stop on Uncanny X-Men and some other X titles that they had started, had been going on for a couple of years, then had a pause. Now there was stuff that was happening in the Age of Revelation stuff that had to do with some of these characters. It wasn't like they disappeared, but they didn't have their own titles. So this is Gail Simone returning to her characters. When last we saw them, you had this girl, we're going to call her girl because we never, I guess, really seen her whole face, named Mutina. She actually has an actual human name too, but she shows up and does a movie in which the movie is very disparaging of mutants. And in that book, it means that the movie itself incites people into actually trying to hurt mutants. And what's kind of like a crazy aside is that actually she has mutant power. So, but she's a full-on, what do I call her, a psychopath. That's the best way to explain her. Very much a psychopath. And in this book, she shows up at the, we're not even call it a school because that's not what they call it. They call it, I think they call it Heaven or Haven, where you have Nightcrawler and I remember who else's leadership there. Nightcrawler's the only one I really like. So Nightcrawler, etc., are all trying to lead this group of very specific. There's like a group of 4 or 5 young ones that they took on. Remember at the very beginning, the very first issue of this, basically one of the mutants dies and on the deathbed kind of whispers to, I think it was Rogue, that the one of those specific mutants was going to be the end of all mutants, would destroy all mutant kind. So it's interesting. They don't bring it up a whole bunch. It's one of those things that's like, if you were paying attention, you remember it all the time, and you're paying attention, like who could it be and when and why and how? All of those questions are in our minds all the time. That question comes up again in this book. So if you're thinking that the storyline went away, it did not go away. There's also a super sweet sub storyline that's going on here in which Nightcrawler is having an event, surprise event, but also is on a date. And that is 100% cute. That is a really, really, really sweet storyline. Letitia, that's it. You would have just stuck with that instead of Mutina? I don't know. I like Mutina. Mutina's a kind of a scary name. I've looked at her costume and I think to myself, this would be a fun costume to wear at a convention, but also might be confused with any anime character because it's like she's wearing kind of anime looking stuff. So I don't know. I hope that someone takes this on as a costume because it would be kind of creepy to see this character walking around. But I know that if you try to make the whole team of the New Mutants, like you'd have to have a horse and some cats. And remember what else is part of their deal. I mean, there's a dead kid, so I don't know. Anyway, it's the characters are very interesting, and I like them. And this character here is full on psycho. Ultimates. So if you read Ultimate Endgame during that week, you might have been talked into me or your local comic shop owner to get the Ultimates book that came out on the same day. And that was because they were really tied together. Like that storyline basically went straight into each other. And if you didn't read the other one, you were missing something. It wasn't the end of the world for missing that part of the storyline, but it just made it make a lot more sense. Because I would really kind of thought, because I wasn't paying attention 100%, to the numbering system for Ultimate Endgame. I thought it was just like that was going to be the end of the story, and we're gonna whatever was going to happen to the Ultimates world was going to happen, and then this week we're going to be moving on from that. But it is actually a lot longer storyline for how the Ultimates universe is going to move to whatever it's going to be next. I am 100% certain they are not going to destroy all of these characters that they work so hard on. That's dumb. So Ultimates this week is kind of crazy. So it is told in a very unique way. It's from the point of view of Vision, but Vision kind of plugged into what they call the Ultimates. Hold, please. I'm going to give you the right word instead of just making up words. Hold, please. And by the way, it's Dennis Camp writing this thing, so he has been killing it, just killing it, and this is no exception. Network, Ultimates Network. Well, that's an easy thing to remember. The Ultimates Network. So the way that the storyline is told is almost as if the person telling it was not human and was instead trying to explain things in terms of nodes and networks. And that's the way the language that's being used, which is very interesting and unique. I like that it's not just straight up storytelling. Makes you stop a little bit and being like, why is it being told this way? Well, it's because it's from the point of view of a specific character. And the storyline here is it goes definitely because it deals with the maker and how in the world they could possibly go back before the maker's influence starts. And it actually says a date. There's an actual date that his influence happens for controlling of the Ultimate Universe, right? So these are characters, specifically one going back and influencing and or planting something that they're going to need in the future to be able to try to affect change within that paradigm of control. So wow, this is really hard to say to you guys without actually messing anything up. So anyway, there is a huge payoff for this book. Also, there's a crazy storyline discussion dialogue between Nick Fury and this other individual, in which that individual basically drops he says, like, I've killed Nick Fury 14 times. He just does not remember. Like, holy cow. So, and I guess it's not that hard to kill Nick Fury. He looks pissed about it too. If you haven't noticed, that whole cover is only Nick Fury. All right, this is really cool. So I'm just going to say, I don't know, but I think that this character is tied to Peach Momoko's Uncanny X-Men universe, but don't hold me to that 100%. I think that the main... Hey, Kenneth! I saw that you went live today on your YouTube channel. Hope you had a good time. The main character here has been coerced, asked, thrown into finding a stone for this character who's on the front here. She is chosen because she is presented with the opportunity to do like an arm wrestling with Beast. And this character on the front side realizes that she does not use her actual powers. Like, she could have done something like with her mutant powers, but she just didn't. She basically sits there and goes like, "Oh, you are real strong. You got me." So this is really an actual number one. Sometimes they do these number ones where it's like, this is just a one shot. This is actually, you can tell there's going to be more to it. So it's weird. The stones that are presented they look a lot like Infinity Stones, but they don't call them Infinity Stones. I guess we're supposed to infer that they're Infinity Stones. But are they Infinity Stones from the Ultimate Universe? If this is the character that's tied to the Ultimate Universe, it must be so. Hey, me too. It's an interesting book because it is done, the front half of it and the very last little bits are done by Peach Momoko in her art style. When this character has been thrown into wherever she's thrown into with the purpose of trying to find this other stone, Stan Sakai is drawing. And Stan's famous for Usagi Yojimbo. So if you like Usagi Yojimbo art, or if you like Peach Momoko art, or if you haven't been exposed to either one of them yet, this might be a good place to start. This is a cool story. You don't really... Truly, you don't need to know anything. You don't need to know anything. Just go and enjoy it. You're looking for the seventh stone, as it says on the front cover. Luna Snow. This is awesome because it's right on the tail of, I think it was last week, had a Luna Snow storyline. When remember, that was her being late to a gig because it was in a magical, mystical bar, which changed places every night. That one was really cool. So this one is actually, she's a musician, and they've leaned in really big here to the fact that there are other musicians in this universe, like Dazzler. And I did not realize that Rick Jones was a famous musician. And who else did they mention? I can't remember who else they mentioned, but this one has a character show up that it seems like whatever song they're singing is having effect on the public. How are we doing, boss? So this is a little bit about her trying to figure that out. So when this other singer shows up, they basically say, I'm not going to, or her manager says, I don't want to manage you anymore. I'm going to manage this other person. But it looks like probably that effect is also because of the song that this other person is singing. Now, who is behind all that? And will Luna be able to prevent it from happening? That's what you find out in this book. So Luna's a delightful character. If you're looking for something new. Yeah, Kenneth does the show. Been showing off his comic books. Kenneth, if you have a link to your YouTube channel, you can share it. That's fine by me. All right, I'm done with Luna Snow. Sorry. My throat hurts so bad right now. Logan, Black, White, and Blood has got some multiple stories in it. I'm going to open it up so I can get you the right ones. There you go. There's Kenneth. It looks like Jay already knows it and follows it. By the way, if any of you guys have your own shows showing off comic booky things or talking about comic booky things, let us know. We will give you a follow. All right, so there are 3 storylines here. 3 storylines. The first one is, and they're all black, white, and red, by the way, as it says. The first one is Logan during a very specific war. This is the Korean War. So it is a very, very bloody tale, but it's a pretty straightforward bloody tale about the war. And you get to see him totally go full-on Bloodsville. I mean, it's really, really bloody. It becomes crazy town. All right. The next one is my very favorite of them. Okay, so I'm gonna take that back. The The Rusty Ray's storyline is the second one. This one happens all in a bar called Rusty Ray's. And you get to see just a bloodbath in which he shows, this bad guy shows up at the movie house. And then the third one is, this one's like a, be careful about how you treat things. So this happens, the third one takes place right after Logan is in the Weapon X program and is basically wandering through the snowy woods as a completely naked man, as he likes to do. I think it's just because he didn't have any clothes and he was escaping. But the thing here is that he comes across a mama wolf, white wolf, and her 2 babies. And the mama wolf's been injured. So this is way more about gorgeous art and a very simple comeuppance storyline, because you find out what had happened to the mama, and you get to see some hunters get it. The hunters get it. And then I think that's all the stories, but the art style is just gorgeous. I wish I could show it to you, honestly. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All 3 stories I liked a lot, but I think my favorite one was the last one with the mama wolf. All right, Null action. Okay, I did not know that Null had been captured by Hela. So this storyline is a lot about, so they put him basically in like glorified birdcage, kind of like Mad Mardigan in, I said the name and now I'm going to forget the actual movie that Mad Mardigan's from. Someone help me out. Willow, thank you. I can remember everything Val does, but I don't ever remember what the names of the movies are. Okay. So he looks just like Mad Mardigan in this one, in his little like bird cage. You kind of get up. And he is being kind of tormented by his guard. But the thing that I did not remember is that Willow rescued. Is that the guys that are guarding him, they all have a little bit of the symbiote or using symbiote stuff. So Hela shows up and basically says to be very careful not to get too close, because the closer they get, the more influence that Null has on the symbiotes that they're holding. So this story is a really great tale about, I know it's not a surprise because I think they've said it and all of this stuff. It's like Null is back. So how does he get out of his imprisonment? How does he get it over on Hela, or does he? It's a great storyline. I love Null. Null is a great character. And the other cool thing is I love swords and stuff. And I don't know if you remember, as part of his storyline, there was a cool sword that they carried around. And it was a light kind of weapon that was the opposite of it. So both of those have parts in this storyline. If you follow weaponry as much as I do, like my favorite weapon of all time is Valifax from I think Donny Cates also created Null. That's funny. He does like swords. If you've never read Donny Cates's epic tale, God Country, you should. It is the one book that if someone comes in and says, I hate comic books, I'm never going to like comic books, I tell them, I'm like, buy this book. If you don't like this book, you can bring this book back to me. And I don't think I know I have never had God Country come back to me. So there you go. It's my 100% money back guarantee to you. If you buy God Country, you will love it. Okay. I really, really thought that this book was going to pick up right after the title that was Doom related from a week or two ago, in which it sets Val up, because she basically gets and the inheritance of all of Doom's holdings, including Latveria and all of the stuff in Will of Doom. That's right. So I thought that was where this was going to pick up, but this is not. You don't get to see her at all. Valeria's not in this at all. This one focuses more on the kind of like the right after he dies and that vacuum of power. The vacuum of power is always a really cool time in history and in reality. You know, it's like just like what happens if you take the president of a country. What happens to like who's in power there? So that's the kind of exactly what this is addressing. And this happened. They wrote all this way before any of that stuff happened. So I don't think it's like them trying to say anything about current events. They're not. But it is a bunch of people going in and trying to take over, get control. And as part of that, they have heard that there is a level below the low level under Latveria and Doom's fortress that is supposed to have like some pretty powerful objects that they don't say what they are in the book yet. You know, you want to castle the Doom door? I wonder, does his face open in the middle? Does his mouth open for you to get in it? Does he eat you? I don't know. How would you open the door, Jay? Go up his nose? Like in Spaceballs? All of those are acceptable. Right out the middle. Just going to have it open up. I think it'd be fun to walk in his mouth. That would be dope. Or to have his like, maybe like have it have like a double door where it opens one level and it's like his horribly scarred face. And then his horribly scarred face opens. Yeah, ha ha. And you have to have a password for both of those. The latches up the nose. That's hilarious. It's funny because if you do it like it, so it's right in the middle of his face and he has a gap tooth. Jump in the windows like Duke of Hazzard. You're just going to run. Slide in. Do you get to slide across his nose to get to the other side? What do you slide across? Because you got to slide across something if you're going to do Duke's Hazzard style. Eye windows. You guys are the best. Thanks for going down this crazy rabbit trail with me. Okay, so anyway, this one really does deal with the, like how to get down there. How dangerous is it to get down there? Are there traps? What's down there? Is there stuff that's down there that is locked up on purpose? Not because they want to use it, but because it should not ever be out? All these questions will be answered-ish in this book. It's like, I love everything that they've been doing with Doom. They can keep doing this Doom stuff until the end of time, and I would read all of it. Throw your back out, reaching for things too fast, so Duke-style entrances are out. Now someone needs to make this as a toy in which you enter into Mount Doom or whatever with a little latch up his nose. And I'd buy that toy. Wouldn't you guys buy that toy? I'd buy that toy. All right. I read the very first of the Dreadnought War, and I'm reading the last of the Dreadnought War. Hopefully some of you guys have been reading the middle of the Dreadnought War. So here's kind of what it's about. This is essentially, you've got the guy there on the front cover, Cobra Commander, who is just picked sides, but then being betrayed by the Dreadnoks. But all that changes in this issue, in which he basically offers them all jobs. And they're like, hey, does it pay money? Of course. Of course it'll pay you money. But also in this, you have the Joes show up. It might have already been there in the last issue. The Joes have shown up, and they're riding in a cool Jeep. But I don't know, there might be some mechanical things that exist in this awesome EU universe that are also other things. So you'll get to have another thing. I'm going to vague book that to death. Sorry. And also, at the very end of this, there is a reveal that will mess you up. Because there is a character that is not who he's supposed to be. It's one of those things that you're going to be, when you get to the page, you're going to be like, oh, no. Truly, if you ever watched G.I. Joe when you were a kid, this is a big payoff issue for you. You will squeal. This is not the one that I squealed about and like lost my mind about today while having Blackbird Diner, but it was a close second. Very close second. It would be probably pretty easy to pick up the Dreadnought War. It's only 5 issues long, but you could just read that. As long as you know that both the Joes and the Cobra guys and the Transformers are all after Energon because they all need it for powering, like the Autobots and those guys have got to have it for powering up and fixing themselves. And then everyone else just wants them for power to make their like cool Cobra vehicles work and all that stuff. All this storyline makes so much sense. Why didn't we cross these things over before? This is so brilliant. Love it. Oh, I love my Geiger. Oh, by the way, I am wearing my super awesome Simon Pure red coat shirt. And what's so cool about it is it has a flag of some sort on the back. And this is a gift from my friends at Skybound. So specifically Danny. But I don't know what that flag means. I don't know what that flag means. So I got to figure it out. Maybe this will help. You're saying, would you say some of the reveal are transformative? Yes. Yes, TJ, yes. There's no secret that these things exist in this universe, but you will like it. Okay, so Geiger. This one actually is very interesting because we're all the way here at issue 30, right? And they have just, or 20, sorry. And they've decided to go back and kind of give you all like a recap of almost issue number 1 from the point of view of Geiger, also known as Tark. So in case you have never read any of this, it's really nice to start here. But all you need to know is that there was a huge war. And now, for the first time probably in this issue, you realize which war it was in the timeline. You're like, Oh, now I know how this ties together. It's getting really woven together now. I finally have started to see where the whole universe fits together. But Tark basically takes his family, puts them in the bunker, and I did not remember this part from reading the number one, is that it says that literally he left to go get the family dog, and that's how he got stuck outside. And because he was stuck outside, he was exposed to huge amounts of radiation from the war, and then got these crazy powers in which he has to have gamma rods on him or he will like go nuclear without any kind of control. So that's all you need to know. Then in the last red coat, I think, last one or the one before that, you have the Northerner show up. So that character that you're seeing there on the other side of him is the Northerner, who is basically a time-traveling warrior. It appears in this issue that you find out that he's not really 100% in control of where he goes. He just knows that where he's being sent is super important for what's going on in the big timeline. And for the first time ever, I don't remember seeing this at all, but there is something that happens in regard to objects that can also follow him or come to him that are being sent to him by somebody. Who's that? Who's sending him stuff? And the stuff that gets sent is crazy. And the last page has something that will make your head explode that shows up, that gets sent. I feel like it's its very own character, even though it's not an alive thing. I'm going to just really make that vague, won't I? But just like the EU universe, this universe that's done by Ghost Machine is an all-tied universe. And it's so wonderful. I tell you guys this all the time. If there's a giant myth arc anywhere in comic books, I will follow it. If you say to me that there's a Krakoa era and it's going to take me 10 years to get all of the books that are going to be touching it, or 20 years, I'm like the happiest girl on the planet, because I like getting to the nooks and crannies for like why things are tied together and how, and what the implications are for the universe, why the characters are affected, all that stuff. All those things I love so much. Yay! Kenneth, we support you, man. You support us all the time. You are the most supportive of our channel. You show up for every show. I throw my glasses. You show up for every show and say hi, and it makes us feel so good. Yep. I can guarantee you there's a reason. All right, so Thundar the Barbarian. This is, you're not going to find the actual book this week. I just happen to have the little ash can edition. And so I like to read those to kind of give you an idea. I learned something from this. I know that it was an awesome cartoon that happened during my childhood or somewhere near it. But after reading this, I don't think I actually have ever read or watched the show, so I feel kind of dumb. So if you are a fan of Thundar, this one will make so much more sense to you. I will guarantee it. This entire thing basically deals with, I think this is the one where it's like he kind of foils or is part of a group of humans, which I guess are super rare now and are only needed for like workforce. And think of them as wild animals. So everyone else is like rats or those kinds of beings. And he is hidden himself in this group of humans that are being sold as slaves. So for their workforceness. So that's kind of like how they get it all started here. And I don't know, it's Jason Aaron. I don't know how any of the original story is. So I can't tell you if it's in line with stuff that's happened before, or if this is 100% new material they just kind of made up to get us into this character. But in any case, it feels very much of this era. Oh my gosh. Okay. I did not remember what Black and Gold for Wonder Woman was about. And if this issue is any indication it looks like it's kind of like multiple stories, kind of like Black, White, and Blood or any of those kinds of things. Black and Gold feels like it's like stories set in her universe that are awesome. So I read the first two. So I'll tell you about the first two ones. I'm open it up so I can remember which order they came in. Ugla, the Mock, and the Fabulous Sun Sword. Hey, TJ knows all this stuff. Okay. So the first story is very sweet. It is about a little girl who's kind of like won the opportunity to meet Wonder Woman. She's part of like a museum tour. And the whole book is about her saying, like, I'm so excited to meet Wonder Woman because we're going to be best friends, right? Just like any little girl would kind of like say. And it's very interesting that like through the storyline takes a long time because you see interspersed with like her having to hang out with like the museum employee that's in charge of them getting to meet. That there's just a delay and delay and delay and delay and delay. But you get to see what Wonder Woman is doing. She's fighting this, she's fighting that, she's rescuing a cat, she's doing all these things. But the little girl is totally fine. She's like, I know that even if I don't get to meet her, that it's because she's doing stuff. So it's a very, very sweet. And the art is so good. It's the best. And then the next story. Sorry. My throat's trying to kill me right now. I totally read this one. My brain is like, what is actually happening? Oh, this is Wonder Woman going to, we'll call it hell. And she is convinced that if she can find where Trevor is there, because Trevor's dead, that she can reverse that. But also she mentions that Trevor said that he would come back. He would always come back, even out of death. She was like, I believe he'll do it, but I wanted to come and see if I could do something about it. So, and that storyline is really, really beautiful. And then I didn't get to read the last one of the storylines, which is The Truth Unreal by Steve Orlando. So I apologize. I can't give you a review for that one. I got real nervous at the beginning because I had so many books this week. So I kind of like, all right, I'm going to do 2 of them. And if I have enough time, I'll go back and read some more of them, but I'll have to read it after the show. But great Wonder Woman storylines. You don't need to know a whole bunch about Wonder Woman to enjoy the stories or the art. All right, here's the one that made me yell out loud. No lie. I messaged my staff right away and said, read this book, get to the last page, and tell me if we need to try to make an emergency order for more of this book. And we ordered a ton of this book. So just know, if you delay your going to your comic book store thinking, oh, it'll be on the rack, no big deal. Once the internet gets a hold of what is happening on this last page, it's going to be all over. It'll be one of the most sought after books of this week, this month, whatever, probably beyond that even. So when we saw the DCKO universe, there it was the group of 16 had all fought and got us down to our final 8, right? And so we're waiting for, all right, what is this new fresh hell of a round going to look like? Because the first round of 32 was about them trying to like race toward an object, and only 16 objects and 16 people would be able to move forward. And then they had them all go head to head. And as part of the head to head, they had a first round in which Darkseid told them where they were fighting and what form they were using. And then they said after that, the second round, they could choose what their form was going to be. So any version of themselves, all time, space, dimension, whatever. And the where. And so those battles all happened and got us down to these 8. So here's the premise for this third one. It basically says amongst the 8 of you, you have to choose to pair up. and then fight. So how do you choose that? Because there's good guys and bad guys. If a bad guy chooses a good guy to be on their side, and I think it could be anybody. So people that are already out of the tournament could be chosen. So if you were Superman, for example, you didn't have to choose one of the other 8 to be your pair. It could be anybody. So there's a lot of like bait and switch and who's this that'll make you lose your mind. But then the last page, because they do finish the round of 8. So the last part is them saying, okay, we're going to immediately go into the round of, what does that get us down to? 4. We're going to go down to the round of 4. Here we go. And all right, anyway, before I lose my mind, I'm going to move on to the other book. I'm sorry for y'all. Yep, knocked out people could be back if they get chosen as a partner. And then Aquaman. This one is a DCKO tie-in, but it feels less like a tie-in because it's mostly about going back and learning about Mira, and then I think that's Mira's daughter, and how each of them kind of like it goes back and forth in time. Some of it's storyline about when one or the other of them were young and how they grew up with their fathers. And it appears that Mira's daughter is 100% does not give any letters. She is brutal. She's brutal. I mean, like if she was in the 32 or 16, I don't know. She would have been in real trouble, y'all. So anyway, don't, if you're going to like be tight on money this week for what things to make sure to pick up, this one, if you love Aquaman characters, specifically these redheads, you will really, really enjoy this page. Would you say the last page of KO is dynamite? What did I say last page? I don't. No, I wouldn't say that. So anyway, definitely run, not walk to your local comic shop this week. Make sure you call them right now and get DCKO free put into your pull box and all of its variants and as many copies as you can store, fill your car, whatever. I don't know. Definitely get one book. Call all the local stores. I'm just saying. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here for this awesome review week.
Hey, Miss Jen.
Yeah.
Can I show the people the disturbing image of the week?
Oh, sure.
Which is the thumbnail for the Producers Live sale tomorrow.
Okay, go.
It's loading, but here it is.
Oh my gosh. You're looking pretty ashy there, Kyle.
Yeah, I couldn't get my skin tone to match Amy Poehler.
Oh, sad face.
But tomorrow night, special time, 9:15 Eastern, because I'm going to need that time to get my room set up so I can do a show. But 9:15 tomorrow, Producers Live sale. Me and Jay, if Jay doesn't have that death of some sort of illness.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. And also, you got 6 minutes of break, and then I'm going to be right back here selling you these books. So you should take my advice. Get some DCKO number 3. I'm just saying. I'm hoping I have enough to like put on the rack tomorrow. All right. I will see you guys in just a few minutes. Bye now.